What's happening, Benton here? Looks like Yurt glitched out. His Apple IIc must have finally bit the dust. See if anybody rolls in here. Going live early. Got a few folks coming in. Shout out to our boy Drew World Order at Chalk Body Outline YouTube channel for the graphics. Yep, he's been hooking me up. It ain't for free though. Them skills don't come for free, y'all. Don't get it twisted. Man, I wish I had made notes early on. I didn't even got my legal pad here. I didn't realize old Yurt was going to be playing some of my content. Hashtag content machine, by the way. But as far as Yurt picking apart my ideas, hey, what's happening, Leslie? Hi, good to see you. As far as Yurt picking apart my ideas, I say give me both barrels, partner. Give me both barrels. But yeah, I'll go a little slow here at the start. Go a little slow at the start, see if people come in. Yurt's technically still live, but it looks like he's having some computer problems. We'll see if he wraps up. Let me see if he's still going. I guess before I got to go live now, I need to check and make sure. What's happening, Ginger Ridge? Appreciate your kind comments over there at Yurt's channel. In a thought experiment. Yes, indeed. Let me make sure I'm on my fancy microphone here. I hope y'all check. I hope y'all peep the. I hope y'all peep the thumbnail. That's our boy Drew World Order, Chalk Body Outline. But like I said, it don't come for free. Paul Unslaved, though, he's free now. His channel's been free. Let My People Go. I went over there and joined the $2.99 level. I know some people don't like giving money to YouTube, but you know, it's just fiat, y'all. It's just, and if you don't want to, don't. But if anybody's so inclined, I think that would be show him some love. You know, since that channel's monetized. If you're so inclined, that'd be cool. And I'm not quite my normal self at the level of my energy level. That was more around the time Yurt went live, so I scheduled this just to see what happened. And I'd like to do some one-on-ones. It's first come, first serve. So pretty much whoever wants to come chop it up. But I'm only going to do one at a time on the, so no panel just yet. That's cool. That's all right with y'all. So no panel just yet. That's cool. Can't tell if I'm on this mic or not. That's all right with y'all. So no panel just yet. That's cool. Can't tell if I'm on this mic or not. See, I'm not. I'm on the wrong mic. Some bullshit. Some bullshit. Hey, what's happening, Mr. Miyagi? Not trying to twist your arm, but I am doing one-on-ones if you're interested. Okay, good. Well, the problem is the phone mic also picks me up clearly. But I have a $100 mixer and like a $50 shotgun mic I'd like to use. But thank you, Leslie. We'll go with that. Much appreciated. Yeah, good to see old Mr. Miyagi there. Take a look at the notes here. But like I was saying about Yurt, part of the reason I do the long form is number one, I like to flesh out the ideas. Well, I have this concept known as getting over my skis, like somebody who's trying to who's going down a mountain on skis and they're trying to, you know, they're starting to lose their balance, they're starting to crash, right? And well, there's not a topic yet, Leslie, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, many topics probably. Just kind of trying to sum up Yurt's live stream. I don't know if you were over there in a thought experiment, if you're not aware, Leslie, and my apologies if we had not informed you previously. You seem like you're pretty well in touch. Snafu was there also, and I understand that you're not following him from place to place, but he seems to think that you're doing that. Certainly. Yeah. What's happening? What's happening? But yeah, I need smart guys like Yurt to listen to my ideas as I hurtle down the mountain and I get over my skis some of the time. I need to tighten up, JG. See, JG was I was understanding his point. See, and Yurt read my comment early on when I said, Yurt is going to replace me for number two. Number two, yes. Well, I have notes, sir. So I mean, I guess it's outlined, if not scripted. But yeah, Yurt. What was I saying? Oh shit, lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens. Yeah, it was a great stream. The one before was really good too. Most definitely. Yeah, that was good stuff. Oh, the thing about me, so Croco, I've been making fun of Croco for his density. Yeah, the tism. So I said, thank God for Croco, otherwise I'd be the most dense person around here. What looks like old Yurt's gonna give me a run for my money, and hell, he might take the top spot the way he's going. And as far as all the stuff with Illumitami, oh, okay, good. Well, he's claimed to not know what it. See, that's the thing is, is it a Truman Show? That's what I was talking about this morning when I was driving for that short period of time. Is it a Truman Show, and is it satire? But I'm the lolcow, and everybody else is in on the joke. I just tend to believe him when he says he doesn't know what's going on. But yeah, good to see you, Mars Mitchell, rather. Illumitami. All right, good to see you, sir. What a momentous occasion. Yeah, and that's what I was trying to make the point in the comments, Tommy, was that Yurt seems to be, he seems to be trying to avoid the lore, the not the culture, but there's various factors and histories and interplay and the personalities, how they play off each other over time. That becomes like a lore. And then, he's mentioning that he's not able to really follow it. And I'm like, well, how come I can figure it out in a short period of time? Now, probably part of that is I don't really have a life. Yurt has a family and a life and such. Man, my eyes, you can't even see my eyes. I got to get some better lighting in here. I look like a friggin' ghoul or something. Not good. Maybe I'll get right in the camera like Zetetic Warrior. Yeah, that's true, Ginger Ridge. So what I do is I take everything at face value initially because I'm really not smart enough to do it, figure it out in real time. But then I sort of go back and analyze it. But let's see. Yeah, that's interesting, Tommy. As far as the responsibility, I see what you're saying there, but and you're welcome if you want to. Again, no pressure here. And I know that I know in some way Tommy probably realizes that he would be gracing me with his presence. I think, but I personally don't have a problem with the history and the lore, but at a certain point, it can become excessive. Of course, it's funny. It seems like I do better numbers on the stream where people can't see my face, but maybe that's just my own insecurity. Yeah, now see, we can talk about that if you want. I mean, that's fine with me. I never found that. I was disappointed because I was a fan of his channel. And in fact, I was one of the very first people in there after Chalk Body Outline shouted him out. And real quick to finish up, because some of what I say is half-baked nonsense, in retrospect, some of it, not too much. I like to think I work on tightening it up. Shout out to JG, but, I want smart people like Yurt to try to pick apart my stuff, I want that. Give me both barrels. And part of that is I'm putting it out there, maybe he's recovered. Is he still going? I don't figured I'd have more than 9 over here. Not that I'm disappointed, but thank you folks for joining me, by the way. I'm wondering if maybe he got his equipment back under control. Anyway, we're just going to have to go with it. And I will say this, Tommy, I did believe some of the hype because I kept hearing about Illumitami on Paul's panels. So that there is a certain amount of, that does poison the well in some way, but I'm a type that I'll always decide for myself. So when you went on with Truther Cop, I didn't know that was Illumitomy. So I actually emailed Truther Cop and I said, hey, I want to work with that Joker guy. And Truther Cop emailed me back. He said, I think that's Illumitomy. I was like, oh, that's Illumitomy. I said, well, that changes nothing for me, of course, meaning, well, I'm still going to trust my opinion over what I've been told by other people. And I did see you on Paul when you had some kind of alien avatar, and I thought that shit was pretty funny. It did spiral, it went off the rails a little bit towards the end, but that was some good shit. No, I'm dying, but thank you. Yes. Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I see what you did there. Thank you, Ginger Ridge. Says I look like I almost drank myself to death and produced a legendary podcast. Thank you. I will take that. I will take that. And shout out to the those of you with discriminating taste, as few as we may be. There you go, Tommy. Well, and I think Tommy has interesting takes also. You have interesting takes, Tommy. So if I have to get through a little bit of weirdness here and there, well, I think that applies to me as well. So just kind of part and parcel, as it were. Am I missing some? Yeah, no, I got you. I read it wrong, Ginger Ridge. No, that's a high compliment coming from you. Much appreciated. Yeah. What's up, D-Rex? Good to see you. Oh yeah, indeed, indeed. So, and I'm like I say, there are some people who I will always decide for myself, and that will always be superior to what other people say. So, if in the future I'm getting some kind of, why do you talk, assuming I'm ever able to have a conversation with Tommy, and some people may be like, why do you talk to that person? He's this, that, and the third, and I'm like, that's what you say. Like, I'm gonna make up like, why wouldn't I make up my own mind about somebody? Like, reputation, I think in some way it can be overblown, but I will decide for myself. If I end up agreeing with someone else's assessment, then I'll do what I have to do. But why would I just, to me, that's the peanut gallery. That's an appeal to, the peanut gallery via ridicule, which can absolutely be effective, but only to those who comprise the peanut gallery. Yeah, you're good, man. Yeah. No, we got time because I think maybe you're recovered. I'm not sure. So I was trying to kind of piggyback off of what he had going on, but then it seemed like his computer stopped working. Good to see you, JG. And I understood what you were saying to Yurt about the tighten up because you even tried to help him out when you said, well, yeah, if somebody said that to me, I would just say, oh, my bad, I'll tighten up. Yeah, he does need to tighten up, as do we all from time to time, except possibly Tommy. And I think Tommy is possibly a tad bit ahead of the pack with respect to some of these ideas. I certainly like all the digital money stuff. And if Wizards are, I feel like I need to strike a balance between just blasting Wizard with my opinions and, treating him respectfully. But when I've heard Tommy speak on cryptocurrency and I've heard Wizard speak on cryptocurrency, I would be more inclined to want to hear what Tommy has to say versus what Wizard. And I do have some knowledge of crypto. I'm certainly not an expert, but I did know about Bitcoin when it had effectively no value. Not that it just makes me a dumb person when it could actually just be mined on your regular old computer, which really just makes me somebody who wasn't intelligent enough to grab some for myself back in the old days. But yeah, shout out to the chat. Yeah, hopefully Tommy comes up here and helps energize me because we are creeping up on my bedtime. Yeah, so I can do about an hour to an hour and a half, I reckon. I got my sleepy time medicine ready to go. I don't do the melatonin, but we've got some whatever that is that's derived from chamomile. Some of that, and then some herbal stuff. I don't even remember what it is. And then specific form of magnesium that I can't remember the name of also. So yeah, there you go. Shout out to nutritional supplements. Hey, JG, did you see the thumbnail? Graphics by Chalk Body Outline, by the way, at Chalk Body Outline. That's our boy Drew World Order. If anybody is ever in need of graphics, check him out. But it ain't for free. Just to let you know, it ain't for free. I've heard rumors he takes tips, but or donations rather. But you have to square that with the man himself. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. Paul pieced out once Yurt started playing the clips, but I think it kind of made for a better stream. Motherfucking Benton, that's right. Exactly, JG. Exactly. Indeed, sir. Well, we're gonna hold the spot for Tommy and see if he comes in. Just FYI. Oh, and apologies to Austin Murphy if he's around. For I was on one last night, and I don't mean drugs. I've got the natural high sometimes, Mr. Murphy. I was all jacked up, and I did not realize that was you. And then after I didn't bring you up, and I made fun of you for being drunk, I said, well, you know what? That might be Austin Murphy. And I myself was very drunk every day for months recently. So who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? Yes, indeed. 4:51. I am also on Eastern. I think I'm on Eastern time. Hell, I'm not even sure. I'm in Indiana. It gets weird in Indiana with the time zones. Let's see, what time zone are we on? Eastern. Yes, I'm on Eastern. Oh, Mental Fingers. Fantastic. Mental Fingers. Yeah. And I like people. See, I want somebody like Yurt to play portions of my content and respond. Even if sometimes I think what he's responding to is not what I'm saying. I'm sure I do that when I watch people. When I do the same thing, my laptop's dead. I am a couple more weeks. I will have a computer in here. Truck. Oh, I like Guinness extra stout. That nitro bullshit. That's only for actually like at a bar. But yeah, Guinness extra stout is my favorite beer by far. Yeah, but no more, no more. I do miss the Guinness. I don't miss I don't miss being drunk. I don't miss drinking. Uh, oh, it's gonna have. Oh, yes, yes. Give the people.
Hi. How's it going, Benton?
It's going great. Welcome. Your audio may be a little low, but that may be my fault. I don't know.
Nah, it's probably me. Probably me.
No, I think you're good now. I cranked up my audio. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Did you hear it? Well, you heard what I said about when I saw you on Truther Cop, and I didn't know it was Aluma Tommy, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I go by, brother. So that's what I'm going to judge based on.
Yeah,
and I do.
I thought I kind of attached that name to the drama everyone's trying to release themselves from, so I'm just playing my part. I was Zombie Tom as a DJ and an Xbox handle, so it's easier to roll with that.
Nice. And I also appreciated you dropped a Sam Hyde iDubbbz documentary war reference, which I appreciated.
Yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here. Like, I'm going through these YouTube streets because YouTube is a skyscraper, and down here on these streets, while you guys are gang fighting for your blocks, I don't think many of you realize. I don't think many of them realize that skyscraper is on fire, and like Steven Crowder already took 40,000 people out of the building and left. You know, and Susan's gone, and the next guy is even scarier, and everybody's worried about Mr. Unslaved.
So, are you implying that? And this is not an accusation. I'm genuinely curious. Are you implying that YouTube is a dying and/or dead platform already?
Even if it's not, it's already designated to work against everyone in these streets. It will never algorithm you. It will never promote you. We all only found you because of word of mouth among the people who find each other. Because anybody can do a Zoom call, and YouTube isn't going to push everybody's Zoom call.
That's a good point as well. And I was thinking about that earlier. How people who do prepared videos, it seems like they have to watch their ass, but then I can go on a 12-hour live stream and more or less say whatever I want within some boundaries, obviously. But I think that's nobody's watching
That's
effectively.
what Enslaved by Truth didn't give me time to explain last night. He had a problem with uh like reporting teams, like channels who devote their followers to report other channels. You can report a channel all day, and if there was no violation, it means nothing. So technically, we could all go around reporting every video and let YouTube sort it out, you know? If you're
Yeah.
abiding by the mystery policy, then you should be good. Or if you are pre-chosen, like a Hassan or someone, you can get away with more. I mean,
Yeah. And yeah, go ahead, please.
people were struck for saying the same thing as the CBC or the CDC back during the coup.
Yes, and I would say that, based on the rules set forth, it could be considered unseemly to report channels and videos, but that is within the bounds of fair play, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it before myself. Like if I'm watching Jack Talcott on his own channel or in others, I don't know how you'd gauge it. But if Jack Talcott is clearly being harassed despite his awareness of it, is it not one's duty to report that harassment? The only time I can picture myself really reporting is if some kind of kid stuff, like if some minors come into play that as in normal life and internet life, I will always stand for kids. Like
Yes,
GPS, no maps, baby, no maps.
there you go. Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I would also that's where I that's probably what it would take for me to get involved in any kind of reporting. But that's obviously we all get to decide for ourselves. But
Yeah,
some
there.
people will just report everything, and that's the system we have.
Mm-hmm. And it's our. I mean, if you chose to put your career in the hands of YouTube, it's like whose responsibility is that?
Well, and I paid my own money to put out a podcast, an MP3 audio file form on a website, which actually, amazingly, some people actually listen to. And back then I said I would never put my content on YouTube, but now here I am on YouTube, which makes me think there's something to this. I'm getting swept up in something because I did have some ability to reach an audience outside of YouTube, but again, it's in a very, I understand it's in a very small, tiny corner of the internet, obviously.
If I was going to make a channel, I'd probably base it out at this current time as I speak. I'd probably base it out of Rumble until they
Mm.
ever fuck up. But Rumble has seemed pretty good about you can get paid and monetized by your viewers while still not having the small mustache locked down on your speech.
I have actually thought about Rumble because I've heard that the live streams seem to do pretty good over there, but I don't know. I've never really used it. I don't know anything about it, but I do enjoy the live streaming, obviously.
Salty Cracker gets so much money in his live stream. He says, "Hey, we won't fault you if tomorrow you claim that was a mistake and it goes missing." Because I've seen people in Salty Crackers chat with each other at $100 a reply, and they're not even talking to Salty just to like floss for him. They're like, "Hello, screen name for $100," and then he replies for $100. "Hey, how are you?" And they're just fucking flossing on behalf of Salty and supporting his comment.
Yeah, I love that personally, and I think a lot of people in some of these so-called truther spheres, they look. I think they kind of look down on that sort of behavior. But you got people throwing money at Sam Hyde. I mean, just here, take the money, take the money. Like, but then when you get on a like Chalk Body Outline, I'm a huge fan of Chalk Body Outline, and it doesn't happen a lot. Every once in a while, we'll see a super chat, and I've found I can't really encourage people to do things that are just outside, what they want to do. But I would love to be able to see that, just the money flying, the donos flying.
Well, there's only two votes anyone truly has that are legit votes: where you send your money and where you send your ammo. Those are the only two votes that will ever count in your lifetime.
Wow, yeah, it's pretty heavy, but I think you're right on the money. And like Drew's been doing my graphics lately, and like I said, it's not for free, but there's not a form, and I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't. It's informal, but why? Okay, I'll put it to you this way: why wouldn't I reward the man for his time and effort? I'm making
I say
Amazon rich. I'm making Amazon and Walmart rich. Why wouldn't I help out somebody that I value their content and time?
And I've super chatted people that I oppose just to make sure they couldn't ignore the comment. It was worth a couple
Yeah.
bucks for me to say, hey, let's see you answer this.
Yeah, and I think that's something I've kind of seen twisted around and weaponized against you. But I just, again, I'm always going to judge for myself. But and I did join Paul's channel at the 2.99 level today because I'm like, hey, he's monetized. Why not? I consume his content, so why wouldn't I? That's the way I view it, me personally. I know maybe I understand y'all have your thing going, but just speaking only for myself, Tom.
Right. And I respect, I've already seen you do this correctly so far in your words and how you are presenting it. And I see that opportunity just now as much as I hear I'm obsessed with it, I took the opportunity to just like stay as blank as possible on behalf of your like I don't fault you if you would have to stop having me up to stop being harassed, you know? Because the first time I
Yeah.
ever went on Z, um, Pero and Paul both took a turn before me to warn Z. Like Paul gave him the Guido, why you want to start a war? Having this guy on your panel, you know? And that's when I
Yeah.
knew I was on to something. I was like, now I'm making progress. That was one of the best days of my YouTube streaks.
Yeah, right on, man. And there's definitely, people talk about Paul. I think Z said Paul has the juice, and I think that's true. But there's also something to what you're saying. Like that's the same juice, right? That's the same form of whatever that is.
There's nothing going on in these YouTube streets you couldn't have learned in high school social interactions. It's all the same.
Wow, yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah. And real quick to bring it back to my podcast, which is it's no longer on the internet, but I had a
Then
lot of.
you were doing something right, right? Yeah, got to get on the internet.
Well, that's a whole nother thing, but yeah, I'll take that. But maybe it'll return in the near future. But I had a lot of one-on-one conversations, but it was never a panel. It was always because that was like pre-Zoom call becoming such a big thing. So I think just if I have a conversation with somebody like yourself, I believe we can make it interesting in a one-on-one format, and I believe that people, regardless of how they've interacted with your persona in the past and all the lore and the history, as long as we make it interesting, I believe people will flock to it. That's what I've seen anyway.
I agree.
But then if we bring on Snafu and he gets to start attacking you, some version of that is entertaining at some time, but I think there's space for things other than that.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm trying to clear myself of the whole Lumitami thing because right now I can't go to a panel that doesn't somehow repercussion back to all that.
Okay, and welcome, by the way. And is it then Zombie Tom or Tommy, or how should we
I
refer
don't
to it?
even care if it's Tom. Like it's a changeable thing, you know. Like I don't keep too close a track of chatters because Mars is fucking Mitchell or Gimp, you know? Like he's three
Yeah.
or four different people in the chat, and I don't know how many people know that. I didn't know it for the longest time.
Shout out
Moretti,
to
Mom Spaghetti,
yeah,
the sweaty
shout
on
out.
your palm sweaty already, Marcel Moretti.
Well, and one thing about the chatters, I will say, is just like it's fair for them to type words at us, we can absolutely respond to them if we want to. So I do enjoy that back and forth sometimes.
Well,
And
and
I wasn't. Go
that
ahead.
was
Sorry.
my early issue with the unslaved is I had no problem going up on his panel and taking them all on. But if someone chatted backhandedly to him, it was come the fuck up here. But if they chat backhand to me, he throws it up on the bottom of the screen and pushes it. I'm like, give us all to come the fuck up here to these chat nobodies.
Well, and real quick, I want to say I really just wanted to know how you preferred to be referred to. I wasn't actually that wasn't any sort of.
Zombie Tom's
Well,
fun. If you wanna troll Medic Warrior, people could call me Z. But me and him are
oh,
cool. Me
okay.
and him are cool.
Yeah.
I don't care, man. As long as I know you're talking to me, I'll go by asshole. Get that
Well,
over with.
I like a lot of what I've enjoyed a lot of his discourse. I will say, Z's.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
still
Yeah.
respect his platform because I know he goes to a different platform to let his hair down, and he wouldn't do that on his channel. So if I want to talk to him, I go to his Sunday show where he's gonna do it right. I've seen
Okay.
him apologize for offending people on his show. Never seen that where he lets his hair down. It's just
Okay.
human shit, you know.
Sure, yeah, and I think that's fair. And I do, me personally, I find it confusing when people think that I'm gonna be the same way in every environment, and you're always gonna get the exact same bit. Like, I just don't. Even here in this truck, my mood may change 1 hour to the next. I'm not even really the same person in this physical space, much less in a in a box on somebody's screen. Like,
You
to
know,
me, that doesn't even make sense. But it seems like a lot of people, they sort of expect that, and it's just, I want people to know, well, that's not necessarily going to be coming out of me, not because I see that also kind of foisted on you some of the time, where it's like,
hmm
maybe in Z as well, that's Z's also been accused of that. It's like, well, I mean, really, what do we expect out of people?
and what
But
that's
that's,
all I'm ever looking for is people see the me versus someone, but in reality, I'll be the heel or the hero because I'm always watching the rest of the panel. I'm looking for what the bystanders are doing. Like, yeah, I'm looking for the reaction of the fucking people that are there. I'm watching, did you tackle the guy that was running out of the store? Or did you move out of his way?
Mhm.
You know, like that's what I'm always watching for. I know who I am.
Yeah, those little nuances and differences that kind of get lost in the, especially the retelling of events. It's like, well, maybe some detail got left out there, or
Mhm.
even worse, twisted and misconstrued. Obviously.
All we know is that we don't know, but we still
Oh
have to
man.
make a decision.
And shout out to Dark Glasses Woody. He's a very astute commenter. I brought him over from my old podcast. Oh, he's just quoting the movie. He's quoting the
Breakier
movie.
than usual.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and I did. I don't know what I'm, dude. I'm so old now. I don't know what that effect is, but that costs some money. I'm assuming you didn't put this on. This is digital.
Yeah, it's just a filter. And
That's
it cost me
crazy.
nothing. It only cost me figuring out how to make it still work after they took it offline. Um,
Yes.
but
Yeah,
here it is, you know.
yeah, it's fucking
Got to
dope,
do a
man.
little gymnastics to make it work because if I ran this on the same device I was using to come up here with you, it would all lag the fuck out.
Well, and that's some level of skill involved in. Because I was a computer expert right around the year 2000, but that's all worn off now. But I'm assuming that takes some level of skill to be able to do that.
More like jury rigging. I mean, I did go to college for solar design, and I installed for a couple years. But yeah, all my technical stuff started the first time I ever blew out an NES cartridge. I guess to get it to work for the
Yeah, right
Nintendo.
on. Fuck yeah.
Generation X, baby.
Well, yeah, that's my gen. So, but like but now, only speaking for myself, it seems like for the younger folks, there is no Gen X, and I'm just a boomer.
Well, that's why
Yeah,
we're the forgotten generation. Like it
yeah,
goes from boomers to millennials, and they forgot about us, and I'm okay with that.
yeah,
Because I
yes,
think we were the last ones doing it right as far as no bike helmets, no racial issues when we were in high school, but racial issues now when there wasn't any for
yeah.
us.
Well, man, like I'm from
All
Arkansas.
part of the plan.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm from Arkansas, and like rednecks liked Culture Club. Like, they weren't fans, but when the song came on, they liked the song.
Oh
You
yeah,
know. So
I
this is,
still like a lot of '80s. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. But they didn't think, oh, I'm a redneck and I don't like this boy George, whatever he represents. They just liked the music, and that was enough.
this is one of my shirts from when I used to bounce at Cowboys. It's the biggest
Oh shit.
downtown Colorado Springs club. It was 3 stories when I was there. The top story was a bowling alley. But down on the dance floor, you will never see so many like blinged out thugs right beside cowboy ranch looking people just all line dancing together to country and rap. It was a beautiful thing to see when it happened.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all about. Like, I love that stuff, and I think we've reached an, in the culture now where people just assume that that's not even a thing. Like, that can't even
Right.
happen. But it was more,
Yeah.
basically, more or less normal in the past. So, and,
Mm-hmm.
if you've heard me, speak, I'm sure I do get off on noticing those, from a sociological, maybe an anthropological standpoint, possibly. Like, I really get into that kind of stuff, observing what in the fuck is going on. Where do we come from? How do we get here?
And I think mutual respect among humans in society, I think that's the norm. and all the separation is required to be brought to our attention. Like, it's not me saying, look at all this racism. It's not you saying, look at all the racism. It's
Yeah.
every box we sit in front of our face with some paid actor telling us, look at all the racism. I mean, I grew up in West Virginia, and when I was a kid, every black friend had two working parents, and there was no idea of this single mom to all black dudes with no father. It didn't start till Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, gangster rap never had a conclusion of penalty at the end. Early rap always had a penalty for the crime talk. It always
Oh,
ended in a GA going to jail at the end, you know?
yeah. I never thought about it that way, but that makes sense. And certainly, most people, I'm sure yourself included, understand where that whole push towards gangster rap, what was behind that.
White money, old white money, just like the baby deletion system was started by eugenics old white money, and that's why it's so easy and accessible to minorities. That's what'll strengthen your community is quick, cheap access to baby deletion. Where the nuclear
Yeah.
family founded this country, we want you to delete as many babies as possible. Solutions.
Yeah, man. I almost don't know what to say, which is unusual for me, but I mean, you said it. There's nothing I can really even add to that, but just,
That's what I shoot for.
yeah, yeah, man.
Like today, my favorite part of being on YURT is whenever I drop that coin stuff and the whole panel just sat silently. That's what I'm shooting for. No money needed, no channel. You all heard it, and that's all I needed for the day.
yeah, yeah, man, definitely. And that's where we get into kind of like the policing of ideas. And I certainly see certain folks who seem to want to try to, steer the ideas in a certain type of direction while sort of conveniently, ignoring or pushing other ideas to the side. Which, of course, someone like yourself or myself, that's what I'm going to want to put forward when I see that possibly it's being suppressed within
Yeah,
the realms, within the bounds of not getting in trouble on YouTube, of course.
right.
But I mean, who really cares at the end of the day? But I would still like to stick around if possible. I do drive a truck for hours at a time, so it's nice to have some
Oh,
folks
okay, you're in
to
a
talk to.
badass sleeper, aren't you?
I love it in here, man. I live in a truck.
I
I,
was
I live
thinking
in a truck.
RV, man. I thought you had a sweet ass RV, but it'd all be the
No,
same interior looking shit. Yeah,
no, it's a big rig. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They all more or less look the same. Yeah,
You know, you're going to be the last ones to do that, right?
yeah.
You're going to be some of the first auto drivers because
Yeah,
you're the
man.
ones that can still shut this country down. If you all just quit driving, you shut the country down. And that's why you're going to be a robot soon enough.
Amen, brother. And I think it's coming. And there's all people don't realize there's already self-driving trucks. It's just there is a human behind the wheel, but the truck is
Here
driving
in,
itself.
here
Yeah.
in Colorado, we have a local run from the Coors factory that's a robot semi.
I'm sorry. I tried to read a comment and listen, which I'm not able to do. Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm in Denver where the Coors factory is for Coors beer. They already have a local running robot semi.
Exactly. See, it's just people, and what I found with especially people who, and I'm not really into this left right stuff, but I will reference it on occasion. But people who seem to think they're conservatives, I've noticed a mechanism where if they consider something ridiculous, they assume that it can never happen. So it's like, oh,
Mhm.
they see a video of an electric car, the battery caught on fire, so now electric cars will never be a thing. But then I'm
Mhm.
like, you know what else catches on fire? Regular cars. So like, what are we even talking about?
Well, and you know that electric cars will be a thing because with your fuel big rig, the doors can't lock and drive you where they want you to be, like court. But an electric
Yeah,
car, it
yeah,
can just drive itself to where they want it to go if they want to take it, you know? But that's why you won't own anything. It's going to be really cheap to summon a car that will take you somewhere allowed by your credit score, but you won't own it, just like you don't own your DVDs anymore. You don't own your CDs. You just stream it. And as soon as the power is
yeah,
out, I'm gonna be the one of the few people that still have power, but there still won't be internet. So that's one of the few spots I'll agree with Snafu on. Regardless of what he tries to spread about me, he's right. Something is coming, but I can't even say what it's going to be. I think it'll involve power outage because we're so dependent on it. And those balloons everyone saw, those balloons are a recreation of when the US already experimented with how to drop EMPs at the right height above a city. That's with balloons. You set off a nuclear detonation that won't harm you on the nuclear side, but it'll EMP your power grid out.
Well, and I definitely want to get into all that stuff, but real quick before we move on, the internet access, you know how big that is. I use my pilot rewards points to pay $20, the equivalent of $20 a night, so I could leave my trailer at the truck stop, and I drove to the parking lot of a big box store because I couldn't get fast enough internet at the truck stop. But it works great over here. So I'm literally moving about in the physical space based on my connection to the metaverse, if we want
I
to call
did
it
that
that.
whenever I did a year of RV life in Denver. I had a motorcycle accident with surgery that ended in straight up homelessness, but luckily I could afford a craptacular RV and put solar on it and shit. But yeah, I know what you mean. I used to park in places according to where can I shit and where is Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and I would rather be at the truck stop where I belong. But when I did the internet speed test, I was like, well, I can't stay here. It's just not an option. Now, if it was just I'm taking 2 days off, uh, for reasons that aren't even interesting to get into. But yeah, if it was just a 10-hour break, I would have just said, oh well, the internet's slow. But if I'm going to be here for 2 days, why wouldn't I go somewhere else? But then, so just imagine the populace. And there was a South Park episode about this. Obviously, just everybody freaking the fuck out solely based on no internet. I mean, are
Mhm.
they ready for that? And I certainly want you to cover all the things that you just highlighted, because I don't know much about that, especially with balloons and such.
Well, the same people that were WEFing our little COOF event are the ones saying that the attack on the power grid will make you think the COOF event was like a vacation, you know? Uh-oh, I'm
Okay,
losing the battery. Now let's
can
switch it.
can you plug it in?
Yeah.
Good deal.
But I agree, like, if you're gonna prepare yourself to have no power or internet, there's things you either need to download now or write down. Like for me, it was simple as how much applesauce replaces an egg that I kept forgetting and having to come online for because I was preparing to not have eggs. So you want to know your egg replacement foods. Um, I'd have more preparation food if I wasn't in an apartment, but I have the time span of how long you'd stick around in an apartment before bailing on it, you know? That's all the individuals things they need to look into. That even the people warning you of catastrophe aren't emphasizing how you might want to prepare.
Yeah, absolutely. And I went through a full blown internet addiction back in like 98 or 98, 99. And what I'm realizing now is that when I'm hearing you talk about the possibility of no internet, it's actually psychologically I'm not ready. I would need, I think, probably 3 or 4 days, honestly, just to the so-called digital detox, dude. Whereas in recent years, I like the internet, but it wouldn't have been a big deal. But I see I'm now sucked in so powerfully by whatever this is with the panels and the streaming. I would definitely need some time to adjust to no internet.
Yeah, panels, a lot of these panels are either like cope circles or just people substituting the classic going to where all your friends hung out, you know? And now we're doing that digitally from our little cubes. And that's
Yep.
how they'd like to confine us all up. Have you in a China box and you can reach out through your digital persona and they have control of that, you know? And even I am preparing if I live on my in the middle of nowhere off grid land, I want to have some kind of connection to other hairless monkeys, and that's what this is. And I don't depend on a view count over it, thank God. But yeah, it's we all have to prepare off of what our individual lives want to be according to what's going to change, you know?
Yeah, and it's certainly it's a cliched point, but I think it is important to realize just how much things have changed so rapidly for people. And
Mhm.
I'm getting old now. I mean, it's just I'm 47. People are like, oh, you're young, but it's like, man, it's a thing. Like there's something to that. I don't know what
It
your age
has
is,
to
but
be rapid. It has to be
yeah,
rapid because of the classic problem reaction solution. Like you see a lot of problems coming up, there's gonna be a lot of reactions, and then there's gonna be a solution that you're probably only gonna take because of that reaction. We just did it with the coof, you know? And
yeah,
like until this shit goes down, let me tell you, if you ever have a run through Colorado, by all means, come get a shower in a room for one night, you know, if you're always trucking. Uh I feel I'm blessed that at this time in history, I don't work a job to sit in the most expensive city among others and have an extra room on top of that. That's my dog's playroom just because, you know? And that was after being homeless in this city. Now I'm sitting pretty in this city. A lot of it thanks to Elon Musk, you know? So,
right
yeah,
on.
it is what it is.
Um, and I'm kind of curious about the Elon Musk thing, but then I'm assuming you mean Tesla. But then I don't like to probe too deeply into people's private affairs. So,
No, I'd never talk about anything I'm not comfortable with. So shoot.
I mean, is that like a lawsuit, or I'm just curious? I'm just
No,
curious what you.
no. Whenever I was homeless, doing the Breaking Bad thing in an RV, thinking my life was
Ah,
over, flipping the finger to God, I was the only person in America buying Tesla stock over a phone while everyone said electric cars will go nowhere. Electric cars will go nowhere. And then, like a
okay.
couple years after I invested that money, let's see, for every $45 I put in, I got back 1,500. And you think I'm gonna
Damn.
sit here and work a job? Yeah, man. And
Hell no.
there's panels that don't want to believe that because I won't show a personal digital page with my information on it, you know?
Well, in
Oh, of
hypo.
course, weird flex. It's
Yeah.
always weird. We keep it weird with Zombie Tom, Illumitami.
I love it, man. But I'm just thinking about if I had, because I knew about Bitcoin where I could have gotten wealthy, but it doesn't even matter why I chose not to. But
No,
the thing,
I only use Bitcoin in the moment because you know why I think Bitcoin's going out? Um,
I
it
think it
has
is. Well, real quick, I agree with you, but go ahead.
it has the biggest electric consumption per transaction. That
Yeah.
transaction still can take 20 minutes to an hour, and you
Oh,
see how everything's going green. You think
yep.
Bitcoin is going to survive green movement? You
No
don't
way.
have the carbon credits to keep using your Bitcoin. You want to spend your Bitcoin on the carbon credits you need?
Well, yeah, exactly. And then, so I only use crypto to play internet poker. I like to play internet poker sometimes, but just strictly for fun. And one time it took like 45 minutes for my Bitcoin transaction to deposit. But I'm jonesing. I need my fix. So I always deposit with Litecoin now. So I literally put like $100 bill in a Bitcoin ATM somewhere, and I get Litecoin because I know it'll at least go through.
I only use Bitcoin in the moment as well, and it's usually to buy XRP overseas because I can't buy XRP with any app that knows I'm in America.
Man, I've actually been homeless for a long time, but now I live in a big rig. But when I was in the streets, somebody tried to give me a bunch of XRP, and like we did this whole thing and transferred it like a airdrop. I don't have any idea what I did with it. I don't. It's just gone, man.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know what? Another thing people need to
sucks.
prepare for with currency like that is there's specific wallets and platforms for each
Yeah,
coin. And if you fuck that address up in a transaction, it just goes to the ether. It's just fucking gone, you
yeah, it's just
know?
gone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A country did that. A country was moving Bitcoin or something between countries in a large amount, and they got the address wrong, and it's just gone.
That's
Like, I'm
crazy.
surprised there's not a war over that, you know?
Yeah, and I don't think. See, I wasn't even aware of that, but it makes sense because I did know that was possible. Um, and just I'm a nerd, and I used to be on I was big into computers, so I actually knew about Bitcoin when it had effectively no value and you could just mine it. But since it had no value, you could just mine it. Of course, I did not choose to do so,
And it
obviously,
looks
but
like
I
they're
should
trying
have.
to ban the mining of it in the US. They're going to move
Oh,
it
really?
outside the US. Yeah.
Because of the cost of the electricity, I'm guessing, or what are we talking about?
That, and probably because once you decided on the paper fiat we use, you don't have alternate fiats floating around. That's the whole tyrannical battle that's going on, you know? Like this coin thing, this SEC lawsuit with Ripple, uh, when that concludes, everything changes according to different ways that can conclude. But you're seeing the early days of what will be the biggest monetary change in human history.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't, I don't know enough of the details to try to predict it, but I think you're onto something that maybe other people are not seeing potentially. And I'm
And
not trying
I'm
to,
an
you
open
know,
book to that because
yeah,
all I am is a culmination of that due diligence. And then if you ask the right, my challenge in life is this brain is full of all different lives and hats, and I won't remember it till someone asks me a question that triggers those memories. That is my drawback. I I feel I may be a form of autistic for various reasons, but I also say that with hesitancy as I would need your entire chat to honestly see if the internet says they're autistic before I give much weight to why I think I might be autistic.
well,
Like if the
and
internet says
yeah,
everyone's autistic, I'm like, oh, I'm not autistic, you know. But the internet definitely says I'm autistic.
yeah, and I've just I've observed some things in my own life that lead me to that conclusion. But what I've said before is autism, the autism spectrum, that's merely a collection of behaviors that are all within the normal range for humans, and they've been collected and given a name. So, like at some level, what are we even talking about? But
Right.
there's something there, and you're from West Virginia, I'm from Southeast Arkansas. There were zero children diagnosed with autism when I grew up. So are we just assuming that nobody had it? Like somebody had to
Mhm.
have it, I'm assuming. If it's a
And
thing, which I think it is.
yeah, and it's how were they treated before diagnosis? Because earliest demonic possession was things like lead poisoning and retardation, like mental retardation and stuff. So, and that was like a
Yep,
demon possessed person long ago.
there you go. And I actually grew up 5 miles as the crow flies from the Pine Bluff Arsenal, which is where the government purports to store like leftover chemical weapons. So
Mhm.
who even knows what I was exposed to, and just pollution in general. I lived in a highly polluted area. I know West Virginia's been known to experience some of that DuPont and all that. I believe in
Yeah,
West
I
Virginia.
was already out here in Colorado when West Virginia had that stint where whoever decided to store mining chemicals upstream from water filtration, it sat there and decayed the containers until it ran into the water. Might have been an accident because West Virginia's stupid in a lot of ways, but
Yeah,
could have been a time released plan all along. Who am I to say? But people had poison in their water from that situation.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't know that that was intentional, but it almost seems like a bad on purpose because it's like obviously that was very preventable. But did DuPont give a fuck? I mean, and then I watched some movie about it. That's really all I know about it. But it's almost like the locals, because they want the jobs, they double down and back the big company in a lot of ways. Like, don't
Yeah.
speak out against the big company that's our kids are having cancer and all these problems, but we still want
See,
to be able to earn a
sometimes
paycheck.
it's like sometimes you have to be the only one to speak up to something like that. But sometimes if you don't give up on the tribal shamanism, your people will be eradicated by these gunpowder boat riding white people, you know? Like there's no perfect choice. It's all the situation at hand. Like
Well, and
it wasn't even about America making America. It was the first boat riding gunpowder people to find this continent. We're gonna take it one way or the other, and then we're still pointing fingers over that stuff.
well, that's a good
And
point. Yeah,
yeah, and before we got here, they were tribes because they weren't getting along. You know, it wasn't one
yeah,
tribe; it was many tribes differing. That's where the original Mexico border wall comes from. Is Mexico gave white people free land across the border of Mexico so they would get hit by the Apaches first, rather than the Apaches rolling on down into Mexico further. The more you know, star shoot.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And just the white Europeans out on the plains, just open to everything, just out there vulnerable and just like, hey, we're gonna fucking figure it out and stick it out, and some of us will be here, which is
That's why the West was
essentially what
wild.
happened. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's
What
something in the American spirit, but go ahead. Yeah.
what I worry about is we've seen that the Wild West turned into this civilization. I'm not sure you can go from this back to the Wild West and recover, and we don't know what like. I've seen it in Denver, even though you heard a lot about Chaz and the Washington riots. Denver had its own nights that shit just went wild and the cops stood down. And it's like, you don't know what's going to happen once you let this loose. Like, you don't tie it back up the same way. So we'll see. That's all we can do is find out. Fuck
Well, yeah,
around. You'll find out.
that's right. Yeah, and that's can be a very scary thing, obviously, when that would just be social disorder and the breakdown of civil society, essentially.
Well, did you see this viral video right now where it's like three dudes in Chicago are chasing this guy down the street, messing with him, and this off-duty female cop comes out of her apartment to help him. She runs the three off, and the dude is standing there talking to her, catching his breath. Then he attacks her until she's forced to shoot him three times. And you can hear in the audio while she's saying, "Didn't I tell you I would kill you?" He's still apologizing, and she still has to shoot him again because he keeps grabbing for the gun after he's shot. That's
Mm.
the America I think we should all prepare for. Sorry
Oh,
to agree with Snafu on a level because I'll jaw him to the pavement, but but I think he's right about that shit.
well, and I will say that's what it is. And I lived in the streets for 6 straight years, traveled around the country, and my thing is I wouldn't blame the lady cop, but ain't nobody getting. I'm very cognizant of my physical space. If I don't know the person, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. They're not penetrating a certain. I'm going to maintain a certain
And that's
perimeter
why
around my
she
physicality.
survived. Yeah, you can watch it
Yeah.
happen. Most
Well, I
channels
haven't
only
seen it,
walk
but yeah,
out like once he's shot, but you can see how
yeah.
it goes down and it blows my mind. Like she just helped you. It's like the scorpion on the fucking turtle or whatever. Like she was carrying that guy across the river and he still stung her.
Well, because he's a scorpion. Yeah.
Well, I would have said N word, but
Well, I mean,
that's not a black. I don't. There's no such thing as race, but there is a culture made by that word.
oh well, I mean, we can talk about that, but I just do want to say EBT came over here and dropped like 100, dropped that word about 100 times with Sly Shy on the screen here. So
Oh
I
my
mean,
God, he was dropping N word at Sly Shy.
well, he's very clever. He didn't actually call her that word, but he used it
Well, me and
numerous
Sly
times.
Shy are friends, and she knows that. She knows I'm gonna say shit like that because she'll say, "Tommy, I didn't mean to come up here," and I said, "Well, we allowed you to because either because you're female or because of your race, for one or the other, we allowed you to come up here." And she just laughs. But I know what you mean by EBT dropping the N word because I have my own awkwardness with him right now after my appearance last night on his show. I think he's kind of messed up in his logic.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I can see there's so much I missed.
Racist. Yeah, man, I love the W word racist. I am an acknowledged racist. We're gonna put a definition to that WACIST, and I am that. I am racist. I'm a Barrio Superstario giving clothes to little skinny Mexican kids, and I'm turning in spent shell casings from that same spot to the cops because I'm over it, man. I'm taking responsibility for my surroundings. I'm ready to shoot you. I'm ready to turn your shells into the cops, and I'm ready to protect myself from those same cops. They know where I stand. So when Snafu says he turned in my video footage to a detective, I say, have that detective contact Denver PD. The same Denver PD that called me a Lumatami. There's only one place I'm known as a Lumatami, so why is Denver PD call me a Lumatami? I love my life.
Yeah, man.
Do
Yeah.
I really look like the type of guy that has a plan?
Well, and something I was getting into because I know you were over at Yurts earlier, and he's been doing some really good streams lately. But you know, we don't get to separate the parts of the person that we might prefer to access from the parts that we may not prefer to access. So I'm not always a huge fan of anything having to do with violence on this format, but it's not for me to tell you. You see what I
But
mean? It's like what
violence
that
is that core force. It's why the law does not have authority. They have a monopoly on violence. And
exactly.
so if
Yes,
you take all this away, feminists go right back to classic women because of the only rule here on this rock, on this globe in space. The use of force is the core thing we all come from. You are only in America because psychotic rednecks had the force to journey west against the tribal force, you know? And
oh
even
yeah,
now, your authority is based on who's allowed to use force and who you're not allowed to use force against. Yeah. And the meek are those who carry swords, know how to use them, but choose not to. And I consider myself very meek on these Denver streets, but I will use that sword, you know, because your
yeah,
last line of anything is whose force answers the call in those minutes. And that decides who's alive and dead.
yeah. And I don't go anywhere without mine anymore. There was a time when I did, but those days are over. I don't go
You
if
know,
I can't take that with me. I'm not going. Period.
all you need for society is for everyone to remember why we did society, because we were sick of being shot in the back in saloons. You had to agree to this shit. The same way that a slave and a plantation owner both have cooperation going on, whether they want to admit it or not, it requires cooperation to have slaves and be a slave owner. I would have died in my tribal war. Before you
Yep.
take my spear away and put me on a boat, I died in that tribal war from the tribe that was selling me to you.
Well, and at the risk of being too cliche, like Kanye said, slavery was a choice.
It is. It was. In the
Yeah,
same
it was,
way,
and it is. Yeah.
I think Kanye said that thing about having love for Small Mustache to show us that like you got to give somewhere. If you're gonna shake hands and coexist, there's something's got to give.
Yeah, man. I think you're right. I think you're right.
I mean, people don't understand a lot of Small Mustache's animosity toward the small hats was because small hats created the central banking Ponzi system that rules the world. That doesn't mean all small hats are part of that. It doesn't mean all Germans are small mustache, but those were the things it came from, you know? Is the same way
Yeah.
America is the way you saw that fruition of racial slavery, which it really wasn't if we listen to Thomas Sowell more than anyone does. I think racism is whenever black people say, oh, Thomas Sowell is a tool of the right just because we disagree with what he says at the moment. I think that's racism. I think
Yeah.
racism is people in Denver telling me that melanin people haven't had guns in my face because I'm a skinny white dude. So there's no way I've experienced that street level beef, you know? That's
Well,
racism.
yeah. Well, and also ignorance as well.
You know?
Mm.
Well, I think the N word was more about ignorance than a pigment. Because I think Matthew McConaughey has some of the best N word lines in movie history when he was in that Civil War movie where he collected defectors of both sides of the Civil War along with escaping slaves. And he said, I see a lot of N words these days. They're wearing Confederate and Union uniforms. And he's like, now are you an N word or are you a motherfucking servant of God? And he was saying that to black dudes in that movie. That's a great fucking movie. I can't remember the title of.
Hmm.
It
Yeah, I'm
was
not
like
sure.
the United. It was like the country of whatever his name was, or some shit like that. It was like the states of the guy's name, and so all he was doing was hiding in the swamp, collecting escaped slaves and defecting soldiers of both sides, trying to fucking be logical about the whole thing. And Matthew McConaughey himself says a lot of shit I don't agree with about our devices of protection, and I still back his lines in that movie as just like great role, great movie.
Oh, Amistad.
No.
No?
It was called the something something of this guy, and it was like pertained to
Oh,
the
okay.
lands or the states of this guy. And
Well,
I don't
shit.
even know if it was a real story, but if that happened during the Civil War, like props to that dude. Because where
Oh,
I grew up, I have a lot of racial and Civil War knowledge just because where I grew up, you can still find cannonballs and musket rounds and shit if you got the right way to search for them.
yeah, absolutely. And all over the South, also, for sure. That's a big deal.
Well, West Virginia was that line where no
Oh, I
matter what
know.
we said, yeah, no matter what we said, it whether you say it was Union or South, it was highly disputed. Like
Oh,
there's
absolutely.
people in West Virginia with they will fliverously say the N word, but they got pictures on their walls of a cousin who killed another cousin because they were on opposite sides of that line. And I respect that. They're inbred as fuck. They live in houses you wouldn't think a family lives on, but they have that residual history by word of mouth and the black and white pictures in their house.
Yeah, it's real. And Stonewall Jackson was from Virginia, but that's now West Virginia where he's from, I believe,
You
if
know,
I'm correct. Yeah.
I mean,
So.
West Virginia and Virginia are two different states, but ESPN didn't know that. I meet motherfuckers in Denver that don't know that. You know, it's part of the 50 states.
Mhm. Yeah, man. Well, listen.
A guy called me out. A guy called me out on Paul's panel trying to call me racist, and he was saying he's from part of Virginia. And I said, do you think when I say I'm from West Virginia, are you thinking Western Virginia of your state? Because I was like, there's a state that touches it.
Oh,
Yeah, he didn't even know as a Virginia resident,
wow.
and he shut his fucking mouth, and I never saw him back on that panel again. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Well, you
happens to me.
can't
So,
stop me, man.
yeah.
You can't stop me.
Wow. Yeah, that happens to me sometimes where I just assume some basic level of knowledge and understanding that's not there. And then you realize, oh, wow, they didn't know this
It
basic.
might have been Sly Shy that he was calling a queen in his rant. Like, you're a queen, Sly Shy. Why are you letting this man say this shit? And I let him go and I let him go until I casually dipped my chip in the bowl that the whole party uses. And I look up and I say, are you calling Western Virginia the same as West? And it just shut the whole thing down. Praise be to the Sky Daddy I serve.
Yeah, I heard you use that the other day. I like that, Sky Daddy.
Well, you got to make up terms not just to avoid the algorithm, but if I'm going to make friends with a flat earther, I call him a disc worlder because a flat earther is just a sovereign citizen now, you know? Flat
Mhm.
earther, sovereign citizen. Well, if you're my friend, you might be a disc worlder, and there's only a matter of time till I convince you we're on a globe that's spinning around a fucking ball of fire. Uh, Come at me, bros. Just do it right.
Well, I do want to respond to Kim before the storms comment. He says I'm giving off "Save Me Please" vibes. Actually, I'm trying to keep up Kim before the storm because
And Kim, before the
yeah.
storm, everyone's free to boot me. I pick where I show up according to how they treat me.
Well, I think he detected something that I was giving off, but it's actually me attempting to keep up is what it is, as well as
And I would say his attempt is at giving me a backhanded statement because I get it all the time and I welcome it.
yeah. Well, I noticed that you picked up because you could see that I was floundering, so I appreciate that very much.
Nah, he wants to say save me vibes because he wants to say I'm a problem, that I'm a thorn in your foot right now. And I don't think
No,
he
no,
would
no,
ever
no.
see it that way.
No, it's if the conversation's interesting, then I'm not concerned about those other factors
Good
necessarily.
shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, the idea, but that's a part of my tism, I guess, is to me the ideas are sacrosanct, and I'm not able to have these conversations. So I'm being very selfish in a way. I want to have conversations with people about certain topics, and it is difficult to access those level of conversation.
If you want to give some attention time to the chat, I'm down. I'd like to know if Dark Glasses is just misspelling Tommy or if he means the Timmy that floats around the panel.
That's probably a typo.
So he probably means me. No, I'm very open to all the things we'll never know in human history because of the mud flood, because you can destroy the whole planet In one day, within a couple of hours, you can reset the whole surface of this planet as far as when the magnetic poles shift. Um, and that's just, I'll go into that because it's just more reference to being a globe. You know, you can't say north, south, east, and west and be a flat earther. That's globe talk. You can't desire having the paid version of Google Earth Pro because you're acknowledging that Google Earth Pro is satellites taking pictures around the globe. You can't use Elon's Starlink from out in the middle of nowhere without acknowledging that connection is from satellites around the globe. I love this shit, you know? Come at me, bros.
Well, yeah, and it's all fair, and I like it. I've allowed myself to become convinced that it's not a ball hurtling through space, but I mean,
Respect.
that's, but I'm also not necessarily flat. You know what I mean? Like I'm stuck in the middle,
And
if that
my
makes
only
sense.
problem from panel to panel, no matter who I'm interacting, what I say, and no matter how much I try and befriend the Discworlders, no one simply says, "Why is it a globe?" You know, I'm glad you asked. Allow me to institutionalize college learning my science because it's why this device works is institutional science.
Well, yeah, I mean, science is definitely a thing. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, is there anything else you'd like to cover? I'm getting a little lost, but that's my own problem. I'm approaching my bedtime. Not that I have to go, but you might have to take
All
more
I'd
of the
cover is
conversation
I'd
here.
say my gift slash curse, besides looking this young at 43.
Uh-huh.
My gift slash curse is that I just see everything as a big circle picture, whether I like it or not. And so what makes me look like I'm all over the place is me needing a counterpart that keeps me on that subject. Because I've often said truth is a point on a map, and you can blindfold me and drop me anywhere on that map. I'll get you to that point. Like I'll get back to that point every time. But that's how I look confusing. Like everything connects. Like when Paul says one thing, my brain shoots to the past almost a year where I remember him contradicting himself as he says the contradiction. I remember what he said immediately. But am I going to go back and search through all that footage and make a hit piece on it? No, because my real work is what I do in IRL out this front door. I just come here for conversations and to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where I'm at. And I have said this is for my entertainment, but my entertainment a lot of times ends up interfacing with ideas and thoughts and such, which is
And
why
just do
I
what I
do
was
value. Go ahead, sir.
just do what I was telling Yurt and everybody that has a channel. Do your channel, do you, and never forget you're the one that chooses to bring somebody up on the panel from backstage. You can make your thing happen however you want it to go. Just don't go against, if you let somebody come up and talk, don't fuck with that. You know, let them say their
Yeah,
thing, like Yurt is doing a good job of. Yurt's doing a good job of letting people say their piece, and I'm doing a good job of correcting people that want to think I'm feeding into something. Like Enslaved by Truth. He kicked me last night because he said all I want to do is talk shit about Paul. But what he did was ask me a question that required Paul in the answer, and then
mm,
he kicked me for talking about Paul, and then proceeded to go on for hours about chem things that I can contribute to from my college and from my military experience. You know, I know chemtrail truth because I've had naval and army commanders admit to me right to my face, even while I was ringing them up at a liquor store long after the military. I interacted with Air Force commanders and captains. They go, "Let me ask you about this real quick while I'm ringing you up." And they, "Oh yeah, yeah, military does that all the time." Thank you, sir. You know, that's, I can contribute that shit when people gets off this unslaved bullshit that I'm not yoked to. Because
yeah,
Enslaved by Truth, he described my past as Paul's story. So you're going to tell me that my past is Paul's story that Paul says, and then kick me for talking about Paul. It's all confusion, you know. It's all delirious, traumatized children. But you're doing good, Benton. You're doing good with your channel. Yurt's coming along with his. I do knock him about how much I watched him be involved with versus what he acts oblivious to. But I
Yeah.
understand what he's doing. He's trying to start fresh, and it's hard to start fresh once your face is known. Like, why would I make a channel? You're all just gonna bring the unslaved crew and play that same old game, and I didn't want a channel in the first place. But it was true. I need to get my Johnny Hurley thing off my chest, but I need to get with his mom and make sure it's okay, because you see how I'm perceived, and I want to make sure his mom ain't got any problems with me talking about her dead son, because I'd like to walk around with my name saying I am Johnny fucking Hurley, and you should be too. I'm Johnny Hurley. I'm waiting for my chance to be Johnny Hurley, and you should desire that too. Other than that, live your life however you want. Smiley face all you want, enslaved by truth. I'm too old for emojis, boy.
Shout out to EBT, by the way. He's an excellent contributor here, but mostly in the chat. Mostly.
Hey, I love the dude. I love the dude. I tried to go there and say, hey, man, I like how you handled that unslaved asshole. He didn't take it very well, but that's him. Where I go, people say, hey, are you EBT? I say, no, I'm paying with real money.
Yeah, there you
Zing,
go.
baby. I'm on fire this weekend.
Well,
EBT anytime, buddy. No hate. No hate. I just like to be accepted and be able to say my piece. There's only one place I can't do that, on panel or the chat, and it's very unslaved.
Yeah, there you go. And well, and I do want to say, it sounds to me like when you were describing how sometimes you're treated, isn't that literal gaslighting?
I'm not too clear on the whole hard definition of gaslighting. I keep looking into it. I get a lot of
Yeah,
different sides of
I,
what gaslighting is. I
it's
just stand
state.
on truth.
Okay, we'll leave it at that then. That's fine. Yeah.
Hey, I can't claim Jesus anymore. I can't claim Christianity. I used to lug around Technics 1200s with crates of records, and I don't claim DJ because everyone with a laptop and headphones started saying they were a DJ. So what's a Christian? What's a truther? What's a Discworlder? You know, I'm just Zombie Tom till the day I answer for it, and that's all any of us can do. Unless you're Johnny Hurley. God bless Johnny Hurley. Be a Johnny Hurley.
I don't know who that is. I'm
Johnny
embarrassed.
Hurley was the first Uvalde. Everyone thinks Texas was the first
Oh, okay.
Uvalde.
I got you.
Arvada, Colorado was the first Uvalde. That's where a man with a manifesto was walking the Arvada Park, shot a fucking cop in the back with a shotgun point blank. He told him something to make him turn around, then blasted him in the chest. He then went back to his car, retrieved a scary black rifle, and as he was shooting around the neighborhood, and this is all on surveillance, and there's a part of surveillance cameras that only Johnny Hurley's mother was allowed to see. But cops were hiding in their booths and hiding behind things from this shooter who was there looking for cops. Johnny Hurley sprung heroically from his military shop he was shopping at. He started telling everyone, get out of here, get behind something. And with a single pistol, Johnny Hurley vanquished the scary black rifle wielder. And as Johnny Hurley was clearing the event, making sure everyone was safe, he was picking the man's black rifle up to empty it and secure it. And in this moment, the cops approached from behind Johnny Hurley, did not shout police, did not shout drop the weapon. They just shot him in the back immediately. And his mother was allowed to watch this. God bless that woman for not out starting a fucking inquisition of everything, because I'd be the first one behind her. But all I can do is be Johnny Hurley when it's my chance. And before I talk about it any further than this on a channel of my own, I got to find his mom and clear what I'm allowed to do, if anything. God bless that woman. God bless Johnny Hurley. That's all I got.
Wow, it's heavy, man. I like it.
It is.
I mean, I don't like it, but I like that you shared that. Yeah, for sure.
It's why I don't start a channel, because I made a promise to me and a dead boy that would be the first biggest video on my channel, and I don't think I have what it takes to make that video yet, so I don't do it. But everybody that tells me to make a channel, it's over this bullshit that everyone's watching get old, and I hope it gets old faster.
Man, when was that? I
It was
followed
like
the
a
story,
year ago. It was like it was before Uvalde, but it wasn't long ago because
Okay.
yeah, it's anybody that Googles Johnny Hurley, the only challenge you'll have is finding the full story that only one reporter got with his mom compared to all the stories that'll sugarcoat how the cops took him down. Like Johnny Hurley was involved in training courses specifically involving the mass shooter situation. He was ready for it, man. And the only mistake he made, like if I took down somebody for any reason, the cops would have showed up to find me flat on my stomach, hands behind my skull with my cleared weapon above me on the ground. And that's how much trust I have of cops. Um, and Johnny Hurley only made the mistake of standing there fiddling with the rifle to clear it and to make everything safe. And he wasn't thinking that the cops were also his enemy because he was a good kid. He was a good fucking kid.
Man. Yeah, I would
That's
like
for
to.
you, Benton. No channel has gotten this, Benton. You got the rewards for offering me a place to speak, and God bless you for it as well.
Well, right back at you, and I appreciate you sharing that, and I can tell it means something to you, and I would certainly like to have you back. Anytime you're willing, that would be cool. Most of my stuff's early in the morning, but I certainly go at this time, you know, here and there, obviously, or as well. I'm getting a little loopy. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. I'm very
Loopy's
close.
just a new buzzword that's relative to who wants to spread bullshit. These people
Yeah.
forgot how many buzzwords and loops have gotten old that were about me. And you don't even remember them anymore, chat people. You forgot half the loops. And that's why it means nothing. It affects me in no way. But I think if your time schedule doesn't fit me, that would make me more welcome rather than if I just showed up every day sticking it to people. I just know in the beast system, I will wear this Joker paint. Like in a good system, don't be Joker. In the beast system, be the Joker.
Well, I do think there's a lot to be said for that. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not necessarily a proponent of that, but there's that juxtaposition. Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
well, in the beast system, everything will be against you. So who am I to trust these different teams and pogos and snafu crews? I'll just stand on truth, judged by my Sky Daddy, and that's all any of us can do. Are you willing to lose your head for it? Because the reason I want to be rich, the reason I'm so happy I'm rich, is so if the government ever publicly executes me, you see something I lost over it. Any homeless person can go up and get their head cut off for their God. Will you deny your beast riches to go get your head cut off for your God? I will.
Yeah, and that's probably more relevant, I would think. And real quick, Soul Read Analytics, he says, I guess he's referring to you, I'm assuming, spits a lot of truth, then shills the obviously obvious. Why is all you should be asking yourself. And I want to respond to that one. And this is probably where your big brain gets you in trouble, Soul Read, because I'm not smart enough to. I will think about all that later on. In the moment, I'm just not able to figure that out in the moment. I get to sit with the conversation and have the conversation, and only later will I review the event. So maybe
And
what
here's
he's
the
saying
thing.
has validity, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. I agree with the first stuff you were saying about how if you want a better conversation and you want to run tabs, it's the one-on-one like this. But then how do we mix in that this dude, hold on, where's my hand? This dude
Yeah,
is
yeah.
free. He's free to come up if he wants to stay civil like we've been. I'd like to know what shills the obliviously obvious as well. Enlighten me. I'm down, but I know your time is running short. I don't keep a man from unconsciousness. I like a
Yeah,
lot of unconsciousness myself.
I'd say I got
I
about 30
hate
minutes.
not remembering a lot of my sleep movies, as Simple Jack says. I hate when I forget my sleep movies, but sometimes they make my eyes rain. But I'm open to what anybody wants to question me on. That's why I show up.
Absolutely. And I will say, I did say I wanted to do one-on-ones, but I would welcome Soul Read if he wanted to. But I will say just here, I'm trying to foster a culture where I don't call people out to come up if they're not comfortable to. But you're free to
Yeah,
do whatever
see,
you want,
this
obviously.
isn't a call out. This is an interest. We're both interested in what he's
Exactly.
saying. I'm not sure what it
Precisely.
means either. Yeah.
Yep. So that we'll leave that up to him. He's shown up around here before. So he was here when the one and only time Paul Unslaved showed up. Soul Reed was here talking to him. So that was an interesting conversation. It sort of was a buffer, so I didn't have to get into it with Paul, because I know he likes to start interrogating people at a certain point about, putting them on the spot about truth and all of this, and I really wasn't. I
A lot
wasn't
of
trying
that
to
is
do all
just
that.
filibuster, though. Do you see that?
What's that?
A lot of that, if people don't see it, a lot of what that is just filibuster. Because I've been ready to take him on issues that you can watch him speed a whole paragraph out, and now no one's sure what we're addressing, and then it all falls apart as long as it doesn't corner him, you know? This is all middle school, high school shit that I was a district manager for retail. This is all old to me, you know? And it just
Yeah.
gets recreated among the remedial minds of the nation that if they got their extermination that the elites want, would the survivors really mind so much, you know?
Well, and I will say that when his, his short discourses, I can see that they're strategically constructed in specific ways to achieve a specific purpose. Like I kind of see what he's doing, but it still works. I mean, just because I can
Okay,
see
the
what he's
only
doing.
difference is in let's say I keep saying 6 months. Let's say I've been in and out of that place for 7 or 8 months now. Um, the only catch is he'll never lay out the diagram of the process. Like a child psychologist, they can go off camera and tell you what they're doing. They can tell you what the process is. This man's just trolling and hoping for the best in the results so he can say that he did that, you know? Because as much as he says cops love him and he's gotten so many results with people, never seen one returning account. And he probably isn't going to pay for it to happen. But I see lots of people, like if a woman is hot, people will tell that woman she's hot all day. She's not out on the street going, I'm hot. Y'all know I'm hot. Well, some of them do. But there's
Yeah.
just credibility that only comes from the outside if it's credible. And that's all I'm doing. People think I have such a pilgrimage against him. No, I'm just dispelling the illusion because there's going to be a lot of illusions in the upcoming events. You know, that's all these things are illusions and theater. There's only the beast system, and that's only that streams across this screen. And they're allowing which one of us can talk for how long and who gets promoted by algorithms. There's already people being sent to jail at the recommendation of an algorithm, and then it's up to the judge to say whether the algorithm gets used or not, and some judges do. It's that Tom Cruise fucking whatever that movie is, you know? Like figuring out who are criminals in the future before they get a chance to be criminals. Like all these opinions are fine. Like Discworld opinion is fine, opinion about me is fine until it's determined whether I get the chair or not, you know? And that's what anybody should be thinking.
Well, and real quick, I do want to go back to earlier. You specifically framed what I would interpret to be your approach to so-called truth, and I do the air quotes a lot. It is what it is.
As you should, as
But
we
what I
do.
yeah, what I was thinking yeah, exactly. What I was thinking as you described all of that, what popped into my head was what he's describing will necessarily put him in opposition to Paul based on what Paul espouses. So I don't think this is unexpected that you would be at loggerheads in some ways.
I think
Speaking
if
only for
anybody's
myself.
walking with the one true truth God, I think everyone will seem like opposition. So
Well,
even
that's sort of what I'm saying. Yeah. Because then
uh,
it wouldn't it be? Well, I think that's
truth
what I'm
or
saying.
community. I need a Dr. Evil fucking truth or community.
Well, and I will brag. I'm probably the one that popularized the term so-called truth community, most likely. Just
Then you
that's very,
better be spitting
very
some
possible.
truth because I got
Yeah.
Discworlders saying that's the truth. I got people saying this is definitely what happens when you die, and I've never had anyone come back and explain. So we'll see. I just don't
Yeah,
know if I call
absolutely.
it truth.
So, real quick, I wanted to go back to this, if you don't mind. This Paul doesn't buy his Tesla story, and I'm only going to speak for me here. What I do is
Oh,
I
I know he
tend
doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, me personally, I tend to accept what someone like Tommy says, but then much like a detective, and I will use my intuition and I will observe all the clues, but I won't do this intentionally. And then at a certain point, if that's not a true story, I will most likely deduce that it's not true. And if it's in fact true, it'll just never get in my mind. It'll never be debunked, if that makes sense. I'm going to
Yeah.
decide for myself what Paul
But
thinks. But real quick, let me finish, if you don't mind. What
God,
Paul thinks is not important to me about that. Now, it may be important to other people, and that's fine. It's not important to me as a human. But if other people think it's important, I have no problem with that. But go ahead, sir.
is what got lost. Early in my Paul days, there were lots of details about my life I was giving out, and it was perceived as bragging or showing off, but it was all to build the credibility for the subjects I felt I could help with. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody how to get rich, but if you get rich, you need to know how to keep it. You can't just stick your money in a savings account and think you're going to stay rich. The B system is built to thwart that. Um, and I also want to help people see how rather than get more money, they can need less money. And that all the details about myself are always to say, hey, this is why I am legit. Like when I say I was trained by the military to be a military cop, I didn't stay for the service. I had issues with my family. I was pulled out to go correct. And when I talk about my meth days, it's because we are prescribing literal meth to our kids in the form of Adderall. I've done Adderall. I've done I always forget the other one, Ritalin. I've done meth itself. All three, same show. Fucking same show, baby. And I'll say I did meth if it shows someone the truth that they're prescribing it to their kids. I know a guy on Snapchat. He only smokes meth because he grew up taking Adderall and he doesn't act like a tweaker. He's got expensive music equipment. He hits bong hits of meth while he's doing beats and shares it on Snap. And that's all because his family had him on Adderall his entire life. It's crazy.
Well, and real quick, just I do want to say, because I have to clarify, because we don't have a lot of hard drug talk around here, but I personally believe whatever anybody wants to put in their body, that's up to them. And if I want to do whatever substance, by God, I'm going to do it. So
And
that's
here's
my
why I
viewpoint
love
on
all
that.
these comments, all these meth comments. Oh, of course he does meth. Shock. Yeah, I did meth. I don't work a job. I got more money than you, and that's why it feels bad. Because if I was just a rich guy, you'd be like, oh, he's just another Andrew Tate. But now that you know I've been a tweaker on the streets and I still surpass the haters, sit at home alone and feel bad about it when you're alone because you're not going to get me down here. Like, I'd do the shit again and I'd tell you if I'm on it just to show you wouldn't know the difference. Like, it's nothing has been denied by the FDA that wasn't at some point approved by the FDA. Uh, Small Mustache almost took over the planet on the
Yeah,
same drugs that I got rich on, you know? It's
yeah.
Adderall. It can zoom you in for focus. And if you can't control yourself, you might find yourself on the streets filling a shopping cart with one singular item of uselessness, you know, just because your focus was directed wrong. Um, I do drugs as a scientist. It's different, you know, there's an awareness to the substances. And if you can only tell I do drugs by making me piss in a cup, then I agree. What's the problem, you know?
Well, and something I've said, because I did when I was in the streets, I had a lot of friends who were hard drug users, and I said, look, I can be on nothing and behave very poorly, and someone else can be on substances and behave correctly. So
Yeah.
to
And
your
there's
point,
crazy, there's this video, there's a guy on YouTube called Flow State. He has this crazy video of a cop showing up to a call just fucking yacked out on days of meth. And it's like, guys, meth, cops are even doing it, man. Or do you still want to just sit and make it about me? Or do you want to fucking take control of your fucking reality? But it is what it is. You can only bring a horse to water, man. That's all I'm trying to do.
yeah. And one thing I noticed in the streets was because I did have a lot of friends who used it, and in fact, just about every street person I ever met casually, at least casually, used it. But the people who used it regularly, I noticed that it cured their depression temporarily, and I became convinced that was the major reason they continued to
It
use
made
it.
me a better person, just like a kid on Adderall. Like I wasn't on Adderall as a kid, and when I did meth, I was a project manager for a low voltage system that makes emergency radio work no matter how much concrete is surrounding it. And I got you don't usually get $1 an hour raise at a job, and I went in high on meth and acquired me $1 an hour raise because they were like, "God damn, way to run that job, way to run that install." And like, yeah, and they didn't know I was all breaking batting out on it, and they were talking to me to my face, looking me in the eye, you know. So tell me what the chat. Tell me what you know
Well,
about. Tell me what
and
you know
like
about chat.
well, and like it or not, in some ways, that is the American spirit. Like we're going to go into the workplace and we're going to kick ass, and we're going to outcompete and outproduce and outwork and be rewarded. Like the fact is, a lot of that has been accomplished probably via amphetamines, most likely. I
Yeah.
would have to say.
Look at Wolf of Wall Street. Look at all the shit they were partying on for Wolf of Wall Street, and they were
Yeah,
conning your grandmothers out of their pensions, you know. But I'm the bad guy.
literally, literally. Well, and the chat is obviously entitled to their opinion, but I would also say
Like
something
their
else.
butthole.
Well, something else, and that's I don't have a problem with it. Just again for myself, whatever I want to put in my body, I will. I've never been a hard drug guy, but I just say if other people want to use them, it's obviously their business. The way I look at it. But then Tommy might want to tell us all about it. But one thing I noticed when I first started interfacing with so-called truth communities, I realized, a lot of these people become enamored with people and personalities. And part of what may be autism for me is I really don't get into people and personalities. So I think as you and I are talking about ideas, I can see that many people will become even more interested in who is this person, Tommy, and start to interface with the person and the personality more so than the ideas. I want to see if you had any thoughts about that.
I think I've reached the point in age, success, life, whatever you want to call it, where you become this honest, just show of yourself. And what these people should really be looking for is how to see themselves as I show myself, you know? Because I'm not worried
Yeah.
about who believes my Tesla story, but you can't get anything out of it till you believe it. Like, why would I lie about it? I will show, I've always said that I'll show receipts for what kind of money I deal with, but it's only the chart that shows in 1 year I lost over 100 grand so that people can see how not worried about it I am. And then I can go on to what makes you think you can't be on this level? Why can't you not be worried about losing 100 grand? Because I got there and I was homeless from a motorcycle accident where my arm needed surgery. It had nothing to do with meth. When I was homeless, I went back to meth out of boredom, but I had conquered meth long ago and just casually decided, hey, I live in an RV on the streets where meth is everywhere. Why not?
It's basically free. It's damn near free.
Yeah. And
Yeah. I don't
it
think people
used to
realize
be
that either. Yeah.
it used to be legal whenever June Cleaver was keeping the house clean, looking trim and fit, and being ready to make dinner when Ward got home. That was over
Yep.
legal meth. Like meth has
Yep.
been around since 1869. Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. This is funny, but and there's some jokes being made, but
And I'm fine with it because Mars Life knows that I've given him his respect while he still cucks to who fucking exploits him. And Carl knows Carl's been running around the channel saying, get Zombie Tom or Illumitami up here. I don't hate anybody. I'm watching us all go through a process. There's other channels that claim we're all here taking our turn, walking our path, and then they don't respond like that in any way. I don't hate any of you, and I'm not going to say I love any of you. And I never touched meth in West Virginia. I watched it ruin West Virginia,
yeah.
never did this stuff. only did needles when I did a cycle of steroids. I'm an open fucking book, you know, but don't come at me with your bullshit.
Well, and I do want to. It's going to sound like a challenge, but I don't mean it that way because I'm sure you're aware of this. This is more for the audience. But when you were speaking about describing, that you're putting yourself, and this is how I perceived what you said, that you're putting yourself out there authentically, no filter. But then we get into confidence, and maybe and you're saying, other people maybe they could learn to do that. But then we get into confidence, and the fact is that drug may actually help you be able to express yourself in that way at the level of confidence, or would you agree or not?
I'm still here.
Okay,
No,
good.
I think the way that it helped is I have come across other uh people on forums that they attest that when they did it, it kind of straightened them out like a kid that got put on Adderall, you know? And I saw those effects too, where I was a stoner at the time, just being kind of lazy, and a rich guy that his job was to be a music teacher at a boarding school for rich kids. He's the one that got me on meth trying to Bill Cosby me, you know? So it's in all walks. It's not that you have to be, what the fuck is going on with my TV here? It's not that you have to be on the streets and desolate to get put on meth. Even the Breaking Bad series showed how many walks of life are intertwined with that syndicate. You know, it's it's being used by small mustache and housewives and teachers. It's what it is. You know, I'm not telling anybody to do it, but I can tell you stories that'll change your outlook on it. And I'm not telling anyone, I'm just going to correct you real quick. I'm not telling anyone to do like me. I'm saying if you see me being honest about who I am, that can contribute to you seeing who you are, even though that's not who I am. Like, you couldn't have the stars and stripes without a small mustache to prove what the stars and stripes were, you know? That's small mustache is a required element. That's why Yi has
Yeah.
love for him. Yi isn't saying everyone should small mustache. Yi is saying show who you are in relation to small mustache.
Well, and I love the takes. You've got a lot of takes, which I appreciate. So I want to respond to this comment. It says, "Love you, Benton, but what the fuck is going on here?" And I would say, ultimately, it's either an interesting conversation or it's not an interesting conversation.
And
So
how much did y'all pay to get in here? Like, this man says he gives $3 a month to a guy I don't like, and that's fine. But what did you all pay to get in here? Because I'm contributing. That's my pay. I don't have to sit here and take your shit. But it doesn't bother me because you're all traumatized children, hairless monkeys with iPads. And like Snafu says, there's a time limit to when things change. And I agree. When that switch gets flipped, it doesn't go back. You don't get another chance pre-switch flip, you know? You better make your decisions before the switch is flipped, because we don't go back to cash and fiat. It just changes.
yeah, you can't unring that bell.
Yeah. Like Enslaved by Truth, they're still trying to figure out what the F chemtrails are. It's very much fucking weather manipulation that we've done since Vietnam. That's one of those things that an Air Force captain, oh, hey, that Operation Popeye, that was legit shit, right? He goes, oh yeah, the army does shit like that all the time. Like, and we get that shit in Colorado because Colorado has atmosphere regulation needed to not dry up like Arizona, you know? Yeah, hey, Rob, contribute it to my face whenever this man isn't trying to get to sleep. I've been sitting here saying y'all can come up and respectfully challenge me. I'm open to it. But this man, I know he's got to drive. I know his profession is another proof of what meth was doing for this country. That's why he's got to keep a book with dates and times, because dudes were Smokey and the Banditing 72-hour runs, which I respect. I respect that shit, man. I know how that went. And I didn't
Damn.
watch it happen, but I've had my experience.
Well, shout out to the bull haulers who are still doing just exactly that thing. Cattle haulers. But they're about the only ones that are still able to do that. But yeah, that's a good point. And like I say, it's and Drew. Chalk Body was a little critical, but he does that. It's just what he does. But if you and I have but if we do this again in the long run, me and you, if we don't keep it interesting, the audience isn't going to respond. So it's on me and you to keep it moving, right? That's for us to do.
I'm a man of my word. We will do this again.
Facts. I love it, man. Yeah. Hey, thanks for coming on. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I'll probably chat with the audience a bit, and then I'll get out of here too, man. Hey, I really appreciate it, brother.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Right on, man. Take care.
Respect.
That was Illumitami. Thank you all. Thank you all for your comments. I appreciate that. I've been wanting to talk to Mr. Illumitami for a while, so I was certainly enjoyed the conversation. With it being so close to my bedtime, I didn't really have the energy level to keep up with him past a certain point. I thought the earlier parts of the conversation went well, and I know Yurt was here. I don't know if maybe we multifaceted. That's right, EBT. And again, EBT is certainly not personal. Whatever happened last night, because EBT has no trouble doing that sort of thing to me as well. So it's certainly not personal. I can assure you. But hey, shout out to JFK Beta, by the way. I enjoyed your video. I was not aware of it. By the way, feel free to email me, JFK Beta, anytime. BentonJA@protonmail.com, because I did not know about that video until Yurt played it. Where did monkeypox go? And he's a big boy. I can't speak for him, but for Tommy, but I think he certainly understands the format by now. So and lots of takes, man. I appreciate the take, definitely. So but yeah, shout out to JFK Beta, and shout out to Carl, by the way. Big fan of your videos as well, Carl. So but yeah, maybe even like once a week with Tommy if he's down for that. We'll see how that goes. But I think I'm gonna hit the sack, and I'm so in love. Shout out to the Tism. I'm so in love with my early AM routine. I'm already thinking about making that coffee tomorrow, and then yeah, I like the Joker filter, but I'm not hip. I'm a bit out of touch. So the fact that I like it may say something about that. Oh, while 41 are here, shout out to my channel graphics by @ChalkBodyOutline, if I can even talk. @ChalkBodyOutline is the YouTube channel. He did all my graphics, and I can't speak for the man. His website's chalkbodyoutline.com. If anybody ever needs graphics, all I know is the man don't work for free, but whatever y'all work out between yourselves, I don't have nothing to do with. But I'm just saying, maybe, I don't know. Me personally, I like to put my money where my mouth is when it comes to the content that I appreciate, which is why Paul and Slaves get $2.99 from me now that he's back on his monetized channel. I think Drew gets $5 from me. I like to spread it around, but that's for each of us to make those decisions, and that's about as close as I can come to a sales pitch. But I'm a big fan of Drew's graphic style, and I certainly appreciate being able to use his graphic design here on the channel. And most of all, thanks to y'all, and I really mean that. It means a lot to me that there's this many folks that will watch me, even if it's people who are making comments. Look, I like the negative comments and I like the positive comments, and I want to maintain the channel in the way that it's been maintained to this point. Although sometimes we will do one-on-ones. Just be aware of that. This was time for that. So that's why you weren't brought up, JG. Solely based on that. Yeah, hit the sack. Exactly. No, Bob Sapp, I'm circulating the energies, sir. We're not in the lower chakras. But yeah, shout out to Bob Sapp, by the way. It's becoming a love fest very quickly. Let me look at the notes real quick. I probably covered everything I need to cover. Shout out to Yurt. This stream was really good tonight. The one before, even more so. And then I hope Yurt realizes that the doomer is mainly me. And there are people who like to come over here and hear me go full doomer. I think this is my perception, is I think some of that, it's a taboo, or it's a way to sort of, purge and just keep from repressing those ideas, saying these things and hearing someone say these things that aren't necessarily said. I don't think it's so much that other people are subscribing you know, yes, hit the cardboard, sir. That's right. It is indeed. In case there's any there, it is indeed cardboard. Yes, cardboard has many uses, but yeah, working with the energies. But sort of lost my train of thought there. But I like what Yurt's doing, and I really like when he plays in response to my content. Oh, and the spiritual gang stalking. To be clear, I'd slept in my truck at the shipper. I got in my truck, fired it up, rolled out right around 4 a.m. Nothing happening, no human beings, no cars, just a lonely highway. I go 1 mile down the road. Now it was like the one of the main intersections in the small town, granted, but just out of nowhere, here they all come. It's just you know, I like to call that spiritual gang stalking. That is somewhat tongue in cheek, of course. Shout out to you, Frankel Vortex. Shout out to the clown, Shakira. Yes, indeed. Very good. Shout out to you, Kim, before the storm. Most definitely. Bringing the very astute points, sir. I see you working, Kim. I see you working. Yep. Shout out to fucking new guys across the land. Indeed. I don't know that he means me. I might apply that to you, but I'm not exactly sure who you mean by fucking new guy. But been here almost every day since '94. Yes, indeed. Thanks for watching. Bye.